Most people that live their lives on I have to, I need to, I must, I'd better, and then we get into the drudgery of life. No child is born with that vocabulary, Mike. Welcome back to another episode of Fishing Without Bait, a podcast dedicated to having you live your life through full impact mindfulness. We're talking about creating your life rather than finding it, because sometimes we just don't like what happened. The only entrance requirement is the honesty, open-mindedness, and the willingness to try. If you have a few particles of each one of those, you're on your way. Welcome aboard. My name's Jim Ellermeyer. I'm a behavioral health therapist, and today I'm joined by my good friend, co-host, and producer of this program, Mr. Mike.
Good to be here, Jim.
Well, Mike, like we like to do is we like to explore different ways to help people through their lives. We just don't tell people when life gives you lemons to make lemonade. We actually show you how to do it. So what we want to do is talk today about the difference between existing and living. We define that in the DBT world as human beings versus human doings. Okay?
Just a lot of the being present in the moment, correct?
Yes, and what we're talking about is when we're just existing, we're just going through the motions of everyday life. Okay? Have you ever heard a person say, same stuff, different day?
Yep.
So that's what we're talking about, existing, all right? So when we're just existing, there's not really there's a lack of purpose. There's a lack of passion. We've talked before about the difference between gazelles and lions. Gazelles are magnificent, wonderful creatures, but they don't run unless they're pushed. And as soon as whatever that impetus is gone, then they stop, okay? So they're existing is what they are. But a lion gets up every day and runs from passion. So that's what we're talking about. So being a human doing is just going through the same old grind every day like most people do. They get up, they go to work, they come home, they complain about their day, they eat, they watch TV, and they go to bed, and they get up the next day and do the same thing over again, okay? So when we're talking about living, Mike, what we're talking about is living life intentionally. We have our good friend, Joanna, the anchor, who we've had on the show a number of times, and there's one podcast episode that we have where she talks specifically about living life with intention.
Mm-hmm.
What do we mean by living life with intention, Mike?
There's to me, I think it goes back to the choosing to do something instead of just letting it happen, right? Choosing your objective for the day, choosing to be happy with the day, choosing to be present in the day, in the moment, right?
So what we're talking about is, again, those magic words, I choose, that we have on our wrists, on our tattoos. So there's the two most meaningful words that a person can have in their vocabulary. As we've discussed before, but maybe there's some folks out there who haven't turned into the podcast before, most people that live their lives on I have to, I need to, I must, I'd better, and then we get into the drudgery of life. No child is born with that vocabulary, Mike.
Right.
However, when we replace the I have to, I need to, I must, I'd better with those powerful words I choose, it empowers you. You're choosing to live. You're choosing what to do with your life. We're living intentionally. So what we like to do is we'd like to set an intention and put some action and effort, make a choice behind that intention.
Now, and I want to make clear here too, because we're talking about somebody like Joanna that is, pursuing acting and theater and these exciting things. I can say the same thing. Like I'm traveling and doing, projects that I choose to do. So how do we apply this to somebody that works like a pretty same job from day to day, whether they work at Walmart, they work in an office? Like I think that's the thing, is like they're just like, well, it literally is the same thing every day. How do I kind of tell myself I'm choosing to do this, I suppose.
Nothing is the same.
Mm-hmm.
There's always variations in form. We just don't stop to recognize it. So by practicing mindfulness, we're talking about paying attention on purpose,
Right.
being right here and being right now. When we're performing so-called mindless tasks, our mind is drifting. We're time traveling. Mainly we're in the past or the future, having brief layovers in the present,
Mm-hmm.
not looking for opportunities. When we're mindful and we get in that place between thought and impulse and reaction, that's where the authenticated person lives. That's where choice lives. That's where freedom lives. So we always encourage people to journal, okay?
Yeah.
To regularly explore their thoughts and their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Because most people don't. They come home and they just don't want to think anymore.
Right.
They just want to eat. They want to see what's on television. And our good friend Dr. Safdar Chaudhry often said that television serves no useful purpose. I hope you're enjoying the show. Just a moment to discuss some things that we have behind the scenes here at Fishing Without Bait. We're preparing Patreon content on maybe some deeper dives into some situations in life that you may find helpful or even amusing. So perhaps you could go through some of the past podcasts and find out whether you would like to see someone again on a Patreon, or whether a subject that you would like to dive deeper into. Maybe you'd like to add some personal questions of me or Mike and find out what our thoughts are about situations. There's definitely some situations out there that we want to explore more. Some of the topics that Mike and I have been talking about was the absurdity of the prosperity gospels and some of the justifications that people use for their actions based on faith. Some of those things like that. So we're open to any ideas, and we're preparing those Patreon thoughts right now. Now, back to the show.
Yeah, because this led to his idea, and we reflect this about the news and is a distraction, and you're not really getting much out of it, right?
No, because all we're doing is viewing. We're not participating in it. We're not developing critical thinking skills. So what we'd like to do is setting intentions, define our personal values and our goals, create a vision for your life. The cool kids call it vision boarding. And they have all these manifestation types of, there's books, there's apps, there's meditations. When we get back to our good old friend abracadabra, I speak what I create what I speak. So it's changing the language and the way you speak to yourself, saying, I choose, not thinking of what I can't do, but whether what I can do, what I can choose to do.
It's kind of setting back with, like, I know there's like an epidemic of people, like kind of a young persons having a bit of nihilism about things and everything like that. But there is something of like, okay, what do you actually want? And then backtracking into that first step, right? And choosing that first step.
Choosing. I love the way you're speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than accumulating friends, rather than accumulating material goods, what we would like to do is discard most of them.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that aren't serving us, the ones that aren't doing any good. We always talk about quality versus quantity. But however, when we're dealing with media, particularly social media, we're dealing with filtered reality.
Yes.
We're dealing with simulated reality.
Yes. And don't confuse that with how the world really is, because that's how your world really is. And that's how we're becoming more and more detached as we are, to use this unfortunately in a negative, choosing certain paths, even if it doesn't feel like it.
We want to step outside our comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked many times about comfort zones, about being a misnomer, because that's a place where there's no growth. These comfort zones, these bonds and these barriers are preventing you from moving forward and living your life, rather than existing to living, okay? Being a human being versus a human doing.
Right.
So what we'd like to do is step outside that comfort zone and look at it. We often talk about looking at situations rather than from them.
Mm-hmm.
Externalize these thoughts and feelings that you have. Get up, get them out in front of you so you can examine them.
It's kind of like what we talked about, I think, an episode or two ago, where we were talking about getting like some of these ideas out of your head. Yeah, I think you're saying you get the positive and the possibilities out of your head and in front of you to start actually making them actionable, right?
Yes, but we've talked before, Mike, that there's two words that mean the most to me in life, and it's action and effort.
Mm-hmm.
Action and effort. That means we actually have to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, what we wanted to try to do is view failures as opportunities. What we want to do is look life as not a burden by changing the language in the way we speak to ourselves and look at opportunities. How many opportunities do you have every single day?
But do you take them? Do you take that opportunity? People saying that like maybe I don't have a chance. It's like maybe you do and you didn't see it, or you didn't
We
look at the
don't
right
view
angle.
them as opportunities.
Absolutely.
We don't view it
Or you take them for granted.
because we're not there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And what we want to do is build up and recognize small victories.
Mm-hmm.
We don't recognize small victories. We're always looking for the big one. We want to add the good things that work every day. We've talked about this many times. I'll have to think of something else sometime. But when we get in our car and we turn the key and the car starts, we don't think a thing about that.
I can tell you in an example, the kinds of productions I do, MMA events and pro wrestling and things like that. I am always stuck on the thing that didn't work, no matter how big the accomplishment was that we did pull off. Which is also a function of wanting to be better and making something better. But all I'm thinking about is the thing that didn't work in Seattle when we did a show, the thing that didn't work right in Niagara Falls when we did a show 2 weeks ago, the thing that didn't work last time we did a Baja stream that we're about to go out and do again, and I'm not appreciating, holy crap, we're doing these big events. You know what I mean? And that accomplishment, like that is something that I struggle with on a regular basis.
Our minds tend to drift toward negative outcomes because the negative is more powerful emotion. However, we can turn those positives into a more positive emotion, a stronger emotion in our life, and seek out those positive methods, those positive experiences. We talked before about that reverse chain analysis, where when we have a positive outcome, to review the people, places, things, circumstances, events that made that positive event possible, and then had to reinforce them. Rather than go, oh, geez, failed again. Oh, I never win. I might as well not even try. Sometimes we get into the attitude of, if at first you don't succeed, quit, and then we get into a mindset of why even start.
Or if somebody does say, hey, you did this really well, you did the important parts. I know everything didn't go smoothly, but you did the important part of this project and executed it. And they're like, is that a compliment? I'm like, yes, it is. You executed. You ran into problems and you got around them. And you delivered the most important part of what we were trying to accomplish. And again, I'm seeing that on the other side. People can't even take that side of it, because they just see everything that went wrong and feel like everything goes wrong every time they do it.
So what we're asking people is to detox themselves.
Yes.
Detox themselves from negative people, negative experiences. If it's not adding to your life, then why do you go there? Would you keep going to a restaurant that had mediocre food?
There's that one drive-through I say, we are not going back. I give it a shot every couple of months and say, no, we're not doing that again.
Disconnect. We've talked many times about disconnecting to connect. And although you're a media guy, you're a production guy,
yep,
at times we need to detox.
Absolutely.
From digital. We need to detox. How many times, we've spoken about this before, the deafening roar of silence, that people can't stand to be alone. Human beings have a need to feel silence.
That's where a dog comes in handy. So you're not fully alone, right? Or a cat.
Well, we've talked before about cat mindfulness. We talked before about pets and animals that live intentionally, that live in the moment. Your dog's not thinking about, Wicket's not thinking about the toy that he missed yesterday.
Mm-mm.
Wicket's not thinking about the upcoming meal tonight. He's not thinking about that.
I think he's always thinking about the next meal, actually. He's very food motivated.
But he's always very happy to see you.
Yes.
Always, he's thrilled to see you.
Yes.
And wouldn't it be like that to live, be thrilled about living your life?
Mm-hmm.
So, our challenge is for everyone out there to start to be thrilled about living your life, to start to live intentionally. And if you really want to know how to do that, keep tuned to this show. And if you have any suggestions that you'd like to throw out there, or if you have a story of your own where you began to live intentionally and began living rather than existing, you can please contact the show. And at the end of every podcast, we offer a free prescription: fruits, nuts, and vegetables. Unplug your television and take up fishing. And for a truly mindful experience, we suggest that you fish without bait. Do a kindness for yourself and do a kindness for another. Forgive yourself and forgive another. Till all are free, none are free. My friends, whatever you can do to contact your legislators, the powers that be, please stop the slaughter in Gaza. Until next time, namaste, my friends.
Please check out our website at fishingwithoutbait.com, where you can listen to the show, comment on our discussions, and find out where you can subscribe to our podcast.
If you're interested in flying the colors of Fishing Without Bait, click the shop icon on our website. We have clothing, mugs, cell phone cases, and so much more. Show the world that you fish without bait.
This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.